my name is Nike Majekodumi. I am the CEO of Nuts About Cakes. I run a bakery, Nuts About Cakes. We are specialists in cakes, pastries, and bread. We also have a training school as well. I am a mother, I am a wife, I have 3 children, and I love what I do. Baking, I never thought about being a baker. I fell into it by accident. I was working then in management consulting, and one Sunday I went into the kitchen and I found a recipe of a cookie, vanilla cookies online, and I went and I made it. I wasn't married then. I was living at home with my parents. So I asked my mom, oh, do you have flour? Do you have sugar? She said she had everything. And then I made it, I gave it to them, and they liked it. And then I started making this sort of every Sunday, and it became my go-to thing on a Sunday. And then I started giving it out until one day somebody asked me, how much are your cookies? And that was how I made my first sale. So the name is a little crazy. The idea is that it is crazy about cakes. But initially, I called the business Nuts About Nuts because I did cookies with nuts. And I started making, sugar-coated nuts and caramelized cashew nuts and muffins with nuts and brownies with nuts. So it was a lot of nuts in what I was doing. I liked nuts. In fact, my father used to call me Nike Iailepa when I first started the business. And but eventually I dropped the nuts because people started asking if I made cakes. And I started getting a lot more requests for cakes. And so we worked on the name and turned it into Nuts About Cakes, or Crazy About Cakes. I loved what I was doing, even from my home kitchen back in the days. So the passion definitely for baking, for creating something out of nothing. Growing up, my mother actually used to bake cakes. She never sold, but she would make all our birthday cakes at home. So that was, I guess, I always had that baking background in me as well. So the baking was actually my side hustle. I was still working. I was, baker by night, management consultant by day. And I would come home and I would bake at night. But I had a part-time staff who would come as well and bake with me in the evening. And so the house was full of boxes and cake things, etc. One day, my husband came home with a business colleague, and they had nowhere to sit. They had to go and stand outside because I had things all over the sitting room, all over the kitchen. And then we sat down and said, you know what, let's turn this into a proper business. Let's go out and get a shop, quit your job, focus on this. So that was really a moment where we thought, okay, when you're working overtime like that, you realize that, you have to go full time or you have to choose one. And I chose my passion at the time. It wasn't something that was so lucrative like my job in terms of, revenues, but I knew that it'll go somewhere. There was a lot of training that I had to do. I had to go and learn how to actually make cakes in Nigeria and abroad. And then I also had to learn how to run a business. So I had to go back to school. And I went to a couple of business schools to actually go and learn the skills of running a business. My first baking experience was 14 years ago. We rebranded to Nuts About Cakes from Nuts About Nuts just over 10 years ago. We faced a lot of challenges, especially doing business in Nigeria. But we play along areas of the value chain in the industry. So we produce, like you said, manufacture. We also run retail stores as well, because we currently have 8 locations where we sell from. We have 2 training schools, one on the mainland, one on the island. We have 2 production hubs, one on the mainland, So I think it's managing all of that, together and putting that together. That's quite challenging. I have a friend, for instance, who runs a bakery in France, and all he manages is the branding. So he has somebody who produces his products for him, and then he sells in other people's stores. So he just manages that area. So there's, so when you try and put everything together, it can get quite daunting. But then, in Nigeria, there are so many other challenges, infrastructure, etc. Funding at the very beginning was, it's all internally generated revenues. The very start, I had investment from two people from family, my husband and my father. And my mother also gave me a loan. So looking for money to start the business was very difficult because I was looking for people to buy into my story, my dream, my business. In the end, it was only family who invested. I didn't have all I wanted, but I started with what I had. And so we moved slowly and bit by bit. Anything we made, we replowed, we put back into the business, and then we kept growing that way. Along the lines, I've had one or two loans. So the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, for instance, gave us a loan, and we used that to open up another branch and then employ more people. It was all about passion. It was all about what I wanted to do. I made cookies, I made brownies, muffins, and we started doing cakes. But I focused mainly on the bakery industry. I didn't start doing cakes one day and then doing, bag and shoe and wigs the next day. So I focused. So I think that was one of the things. I didn't look at who else was doing what. I focused. And then also we focus mainly on customers and what they need. So we have a variety of different product lines. We have cakes when you come here. We have pastries that kids can take for school or office meetings, etc. We have bread. So we have a full service bakery. So you can get different things from us. Some other people, when you go there, they focus on cakes. Others, they focus on bread. Others, they only sell pastries. But we have a full service bakery. And then we also have affordable quality products. So it's affordable and it's good quality. So that's really how we distinguish ourselves. The brand is fun and it's exciting and it's bold. And what we do here is it's happy. We sell cakes for people's occasions. We sell snacks to quench hunger, things like that. So we try and keep it fun. I always say that I want to run a fun company. When it stops being fun, then I'm going home. But keep it lively, keep it fun, keep it exciting. Our big customers are children, so they like things that are colorful and bright as well. If you see our logo, it's got like 5 or 6 different colors in it. So we just try and keep it exciting and fresh and new. My father is very influential in my life. And, I go to him for a lot of big business decisions. And we talk a lot about this business, given that he's one of my investors, one of my shareholders. But I personally do a lot of mentoring of women in particular who are going through the same things that I have gone through. It affected us, COVID, just like it affected a lot of other companies. It wasn't easy. We had to shut down about five of our stores. We did a lot of working from home. But one thing is we were resilient because we all buckled up and realized that, okay, how do we get through this? Rather than shut down, shutting down was not part of, because we are a food service business, we provide bread, etc. So we were allowed to open. And so we said, how are we going to get through this period? So we did a lot of deliveries and we went online. We started doing a lot more marketing online and deliveries. We partnered with external delivery drivers who helped us to fulfill all the orders. We went from 30% of deliveries to about 85% deliveries in our business. We also run a multifunctional sales approach. So we have our telesales, we have our e-commerce website. You can order on the website, on WhatsApp. You can order through social media. So there are different ways for people to reach us besides the stores, given that the stores most people were at home and some of the stores were closed. I think the Nigerian food industry has developed significantly. I wouldn't say it has come of age yet. It's not mature yet. There's still so much more room for growth. Agribusiness is now such a big thing and it's getting a lot of funding behind it as well. And then others who play further down in the value chain in terms of customer facing, restaurants and things like that. You can also see so many more out there. But I still think there's a lot more to be done in terms of even just, policies that guide our industry or licenses or certificates, making sure that the hygiene is sorted, making sure that it's healthy, making sure people are doing the right things, even where we're located. There's so much more organization that can be done with the food industry. So there's a lot, and there's so many niches now. people specializing in different things, whether it is even in the baking industry, for instance. There's some people who only make ice cream cakes, for instance, and then there's some people who do a variety of other things. So it's there's still a lot more room for growth, especially when we compare ourselves to the Western world or anything like that. The hospitality industry in Nigeria is also growing. There's need for a lot of infrastructural support for it, and then also a lot of support for the businesses, because there's a lot of regulation and licenses and costs, and the cost of raw materials and things like that. So we do need a lot of support from the government as well to keep growing the industry. Doing business in Nigeria is very difficult. It's not, it's doable, but it's difficult. And you really have to have the energy and the grit and the determination to succeed. Starting a business is easy, but making it sustainable, where it can survive, without the owner always being present. Now, that's the difficult part. There's a lot of processes and procedures that need to be put in place. And then also, the cost of infrastructure, power, water. Like, over here, we're connected to the grid. We've got our own transformer, our own backup generator, plus another backup generator. You have your own security, you have your own borehole. So all of those costs, it does add up. But one thing I would say is that the opportunities in Nigeria are immense. I would not be able to do what I am doing today in terms of impacting lives and growing an African brand, except I was in Nigeria. So that is one thing that I would give kudos to Nigeria. So it's difficult, but it is very doable. How I would encourage, other future or upcoming entrepreneurs is to just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? But also focus, and plan. So ensure that you are, writing your plans out. There's something about when you write things down, because then you tend to follow up with it more. So plan, focus, and go for it. My typical Nuts About Cakes day is full of a lot of meetings. When I started the business, I was in operations. So I used to bake and decorate and all of that. But today I do more business management. So today, for instance, I've already had a meeting with my CFO. I've had a meeting with my executive assistant. I've had a meeting with my marketing manager. So it's just full of a lot of meetings, making sure that the business is running, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, that we can keep the lights on. Secondly, I do a lot of balancing of my time. So I have to make sure I have work-life balance. As much as I spend time at work, I also spend time at home with the family. The truth is, to do what I need to do, I have to be fit. So I exercise by playing tennis a few times a week. I also like to dance. So I do some salsa dancing as well.